a top assassin, tasked with assassinating the president, lay motionless in a hotel, a large saw in hand, waiting for his target to peek out. But the assassin, having completed his mission, didn't rush to escape. Instead, he deliberately revealed his location to confirm that the target had discovered him. Only then did he get up and begin packing his equipment. The man, codenamed Jackal, was once a top sniper in the British Special Forces, but now he was a top assassin who took what he was paid to do, capable of taking down targets from a kilometer away. He was adept at using cell phones, so escaping was naturally a piece of cake. It wasn't until he calmly drove out of the hotel that the police arrived with their men. Little did they know, the Jackal had prepared a surprise for them before leaving. While blowing up the hotel as evidence, Chai Lang also destroyed the car he had driven. This way, even if the police found it, they wouldn't be able to collect any fingerprints. Don't think assassinating the president is really that simple. Chai Lang had done a great deal of preparation beforehand. The most important task was to make the president appear at his predetermined location. To this end, Chai Lang first killed a cleaner, then used disguise to impersonate him. Only after ensuring his speed and agility were perfected did he stagger into the president's son's company. To prevent his identity from being exposed, he pretended to cough to avoid too much contact with the security guards. He successfully reached the floor where the president's son was located. After confirming his target, the Jackal immediately opened his backpack. He loaded a silenced pistol. But an unexpected incident still occurred. Although the gunshot wasn't loud, it still attracted the attention of security. However, there was no need to worry too much. He could just kill a few more people. The president's son was terrified and fled frantically, but no matter how fast he ran, he couldn't outrun a bullet. Jackal raised his hand and fired a shot. But he didn't kill him directly, because a living person is often more useful than a corpse. After doing all this, Jackal proceeded according to plan. He paddled to the rooftop and saw the police approaching, but he showed no panic. He simply pulled a smoke grenade from his bag and casually tossed it into the panicked crowd below. Then he secured himself with a rope and rappelled down. His movements were practiced enough that he reached the ground in just a few seconds. Finally, using the smoke as cover, he blended into the crowd, avoiding the police's sight. Although this operation was somewhat dangerous, it was crucial to the assassination of the president. Actually, the other party wasn't really the president because he was still running for office. But the security measures were indeed extremely tight. Upon learning of his son's serious injury, as a father, he would definitely visit him in the hospital, and this was precisely the Jackal's true objective. Once the target's whereabouts were determined, it wasn't difficult. Even though the sniping distance was a full 3,815 meters, more than 200 meters beyond the world record, it wasn't much of a problem for the Jackal. The difficult part was that after finishing all this, the Jackal drove directly to the German border. However, since the presidential candidate had just been murdered, anyone leaving the country had to undergo rigorous questioning. The Jackal was prepared for this. His documents showed no problems. He had even disassembled his specially made sniper rifle and reassembled it into a suitcase. As for his reason for coming to Germany, it was simply to buy a highly collectible chess set. After a thorough investigation, the other side couldn't find a single fault with his credentials. They had no choice but to let him leave the German border. The next day, the Jackal returned to his post on the Spanish border. In front of his wife, he was a seemingly honest and successful businessman, unaware that her husband was a top-tier assassin. To protect this precious happiness, the Jackal never revealed anything about himself to his wife. He thought that after completing his mission, he could spend quality time with his family. However, upon returning to his post, he was shocked to discover that the person who hired him to assassinate, the employer who hired the assassin to kill the presidential candidate, turned out to be a deadbeat, who not only refused to pay the remaining 3.75 million euros, but also sent him a cheesy message, Jackal. Feeling deeply humiliated and cheated, the Jackal was determined to uncover the employer's identity and make him regret ever being born. He discovered the funds for the down payment came from Munich, Germany, a black company, and Munich is the very city where he assassinated the presidential candidate. It seems he has no choice but to risk going back. Upon arriving in Munich, he disguised himself as a businessman. While visiting banks, he also gathered a large amount of information online, discovering that the owner of the company that made the payment was none other than the son of the presidential candidate he assassinated. Elijah, that kid, hiring someone to kill his father, that's ruthless. However, now that they'd found the person, things were much easier. To find an opportunity to approach him, the Jackal first targeted his driver. Seeing the truth in the Jackal's hand, the driver begged for mercy, but the Jackal still gave him a peanut. Then he put on the driver's glasses and successfully took his place. He immediately drove to pick up Arya, who was on her way to her father's funeral. Seeing that the bodyguard sensed something was wrong, he raised his hand and shot him dead, then quickly drifted away. Arya, realizing what was happening, was terrified, but the car doors were locked, preventing her from getting out. She could only call the head of security for help. The driver, a Jackal, ignored her. Facing pursuit from behind, the Jackal rammed into scaffolding, successfully blocking the chase. In the blink of an eye, she drove into a secluded alley. Finally, she could settle accounts with her deadbeat employer. Arya desperately explained that she was willing to return the body for assassinating her father. The final payment was made, but now it's not just about money anymore. Fuck. After finishing everything, Chai Lang placed a time bomb in the trunk and then drove off with a flourish. When the security captain arrived, he was immediately thrown out by the sudden explosion. On his way back, Chai Lang glanced at his phone's security camera and discovered that his wife and family had opened a secret room in his study. Inside, there was not only cash from various countries, but also a disguise. The fake passport, along with a sophisticated scalp mask maker, were all part of the scheme. The thing Chai Lang feared most had happened. It seemed his identity as an assassin was about to be exposed. Back home, Chai Lang met his wife at a hotel. He admitted to lying to her, but he still lacked the courage to reveal his true identity. So he lied and claimed to be a business spy. Even so, his wife still found it hard to accept. Fortunately, after much persuasion, Chai Lang promised to complete his last job. He promised his wife he would wash his hands of the golden basin. Then he would have enough money to return home, and she reluctantly agreed. But what Chai Lang didn't expect was that his final mission would be even more difficult than assassinating a presidential candidate.